start, keep our process of learning going. Today, we're going to try and talk through the process of creating SQL objects, making sure that they are not lost by accident, because we've had a couple different things go on lately. We had somebody go into production, click on modify, use that query window to do some queries, accidentally hit execute and wipe out a stored procedure that was required for a daily job. And I don't, well, anyway, bad things happened. And then we've also had another case where somebody was developing, they were working away on one of the machines. The only place their SQL existed was on the machine. The project was underway to shut all of the machines off. The machine got shut off and they lost several weeks of. So we want to try and come up with better practices to make sure that those kinds of things don't happen. So we want to make sure that we're treating SQL as source code. Does anybody have any comments on any of that? Okay. Sorry, I thought somebody was going to say something. Okay, so what I would recommend is when you start work that you always work from scripts. So instead of creating a stored procedure in a window, you are in a name script, and then you work on the name script from there. And that you create your scripts as ordered scripts so that you can run them from DevTool, and make sure that they're self-healing scripts so that DevTool can run them over and over again. And then there's a couple things that we can do to easily create scripts. So let me go ahead and get rid of the ones that I created earlier today. So say somebody has handed me a project and said, oh, you need to work on the HSD blah, blah, blah project. The first tool that we have is called Script Puller, and that says, oh, okay, this wasn't ever checked in. Let's go ahead and look at prod. We're going to take all of the SQL objects that start with HSD, and we're going to stick them in a directory. You hit go, and then we go to that scripts directory, and you can see that it's gone out and fetched all of the tables and stored procedures and created scripts for all of that. So that's one way to create the scripts. And if you go into these scripts, you can see it's put all of the stuff to keep, make sure teach SQL lint is happy. It's put the wrapper around it, the if wrapper, that the table doesn't get created again once it's there. Sorry, that's obviously not part of this conversation. Okay. Same for that table. Okay, so it's also created the little snippet that says we're going to create an empty procedure if the procedure doesn't exist, so that we can always do an alter. And so that's how we can get the SQL scripts for an undocumented job, so that we can start checking. Does anybody have any questions on how to use that?
This Jeff, I've got one. I've actually never looked at Script Puller yet. When you pull a table, will it include constraints, like foreign keys or default values, and will it pull indexes?
I wish I could tell you that it was absolutely perfect. It will pull commonly common constructions for default values and indices, but I can't guarantee that it will get everything.
Okay.
So use it with a grain of salt. Know that it may miss some unusual construct that I don't know how to deal with.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
Hey Bill, I have a quick question. So the script folder, is that a new application somebody built it out? Because I'm not aware of it, so I don't know if everyone else is. Am I the only one missing?
So the script puller is a fairly new application. It will get rolled into DevTools at some point, but I figured it was worth us looking at now to make sure we're not losing any more SQL to machines going down or people breaking them, that type of thing. So
is that
does
right
that
now?
answer your question?
How can we get that right now? Is that on our? I don't see that on my desktop. So
it's in the EDI tools directory. Script puller. Okay, and so what I did is I went in and built it, and just made myself a shortcut to the exe. Jeff has a lot of things on the list, mostly project work, obviously, ahead of incorporating that into DevTools. So I don't know timeline when that will be, but maybe we can stick it in that same executables for now. Jeff, does that make sense? You're on mute if you're talking.
Yes, that was on mute. Yeah, we could. I mean, I would not mix it in with the executables of DevTools, but I could create an executables folder here. But let me at least look at it to see how easy it is to push into DevTools, because that would be easier for everyone.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll let you know one way or the other. If you have to, you can go and compile it and run it. Otherwise, we'll get it rolled into DevTools. Or
and question: Would you advise that people not do that directly into a project folder for an existing project? I mean, well, actually, script puller is only for existing. Because I'm worried about it overlaying scripts that may already exist in the folder. But would it be good practice to put it in a new folder somewhere?
Does they not do that? Yeah, that's why I do it into the temp directory, and then I can pick and choose, because a lot of times what you'll find is there's, like in that case, there would be 2 HSD projects, and only half of those scripts actually apply to the one that I'm working on. So.
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay, all right. And so the next tool that we're going to talk about is snippets, and I know that we've probably covered this a time or two, but let's go ahead and cover this again. So if you have gone to Tools and Code Snippet Manager, Import, and then you go to your EDI directory under Snippets, and there's an SSMS directory, Snippets, and you choose that file. Tell it you want it in My Code Snippets, and excuse me, you finish. Now when you press, well, let me get into EDI integrations. Okay. So now when you press Control K, Control X, you can get into My Code Snippets, and we have created several code snippets for doing different things. If we want to create a table, and it's the same type of snippet as Visual Studio, so you can type in,
And if you don't remember the keyboard shortcut, you can right-click and get to it. Because I never remember the key.
So how do you get to it here?
Nope, it's insert snippets. Well, no, wait. I can't see. I got to get my glasses on here, Tony. Yeah, insert snippet, 4th line.
There it is. There it is.
And then you want, yeah, and then you want, well, I think it's called my something or other once you get to that list.
Yeah. Okay, so let's try that again using that. So we right mouse, insert snippets, my code snippets, create a table. Yeah, messed that up. Sorry, guys. Okay, you have to have a consistent behavior to actually make that work. Sorry. And it will update the script, and in this case you just go in and add your columns, and if you don't need tracking, then you can throw all of this junk away, modify it, and create it. So as far as what snippets are available, we have the create tables one. We also have snippets for adding a column, putting a generic comment block, clustered index, or non-clustered index, creating a new procedure, a synonym, and the synonym, I updated it the other day, so you probably want to reload these. Now only contains prod, OCQA, and OCINT. And the drop table, if exists one. I can never remember the syntax, so that's, as you're in the middle of writing something, you can put that in. And we've had a couple different people contribute to the snippets, and if you've got something that you're doing over and over again in SQL, you want to create one of these. Either have at it or get with me, and I will help you get that done. I'm sorry, James, did you say something?
Are these C# programs that is running behind the scene, or?
No, snippets, Visual Studio and SSMS both support the snippet language, and if we go and look at the snippet file, sorry, talk about muscle memory. It's just an XML file.
Oh.
Right, and you can, this is quoted, and it's got everything that you want in there, and if you look, you can, let me see if I can, okay, was that's little, okay, so like these things inside the dollar signs are stuff that gets replaced, and you've got a definition for it up here that that has to match. And like I said, we've got several of them. Certainly want anybody who has a task that they're doing over and over again to do that as well. Mahendra, did you have something?
Yes, I was going to ask the process to install this snippets in the SSIMS environment. That's defined in our a day in the life of SSIS developer document.
Yes.
SharePoint, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. It's in the day in the life doc. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So
I have a question.
we have.
I was wondering.
Somebody,
Go
ahead.
Yep. Sorry about that, though. I was wondering if you are you going to talk about debugging within the Visual MS? How to debug when you're writing the query? I was able to do that in other environments, and in our environment, I think it's disabled. Or is there any other way of, or if you're not going to talk about this, we can talk about another time.
Sure, but that's a good question that we probably ought to go back and find out why we can't do that.
For the record, my experience is the same. I did it in other shops, but I can't do it here.
Yeah, which is very helpful when you are writing the queries and
Okay.
be able to debug it.
We'll have to find out if it's a permissions issue or what it is exactly. Okay, so this next one, I think we have talked about this before, but as you're working on projects and you write a piece of SQL that you are going to use over and over again, but you don't want it to be deployed to production. So in this case, I've got, 35 scripts that are going to production, but I've got this ad hoc folder with all of these are specific information. So if I want to review a specific claim in the context of EOBs, what I used to do is I would create this script and then throw it away, and then create it and then throw it away. And that's a huge waste of my time. So if you are writing something and it's a tool for debugging or checking state or doing please start an ad hoc so that we recover the work that you've done there. Anybody have any questions? Jeff, is DevTool actually creating ad hoc? I don't.
Yes, it does. It creates the folder. And I would say I try to leave one, in my projects, I try to leave one file in there called support, hoping that when the run team is needing to look at something, they'll open it up and see a bunch of queries that I have found useful during testing.
Oh, that's an excellent idea. Okay. All right, so now let's talk about Git. In the case where we had the developer lose a couple of weeks of work, they had not checked anything into Git, they hadn't created any scripts, and there was another project underway to decommission all the old stuff. And we have the possibility of a server being decommissioned. We have the possibility of our VDI being suddenly wiped out. All of those things going on. One of the things that we are less likely to have disappear on us is everybody's Git repository at the same time. So if you have done something worthwhile, at the end of the day, it needs to go and get somehow, right? If it's working and it's valuable, you should be checking it into Git. All of your scripts, all of your tables, all of your functions, everything. So lightning strike, whatever calamity you want to come up with, that will still exist. Okay, does anybody have any questions on that?
So I think the best practice is to have a daily habit of checking in at the end of the day. So I would recommend that. That's what I do. I know a lot of people do that, so I would highly recommend that.
The only caveat I would give to that is if you're working on something that will affect someone else and what they're working on, and you're not in a stable state, then it might be worth using an alternate path or something. And Bill can correct me if you disagree.
Right. A feature branch would be the right solution for that particular case. So you would create a free feature branch off of develop, do whatever work it is that you know is going to conflict with other people, and then when you're ready and complete, merge your feature branch back into develop.
So are you talking that?
But in general, go ahead.
So my question is, are you talking that in the context of somebody is making a change to one package and the another person is making a change to the same package.
Yeah, usually that doesn't work just because the packages are XML files. But
Right.
in the case of something like web call tools, like there are several of us that are working on web call tools, and if you were making a major refactoring change to web call tools, a feature branch might be the right choice in that case to say, I'm going to go do all of this work, but I don't want to wipe everybody else out in the meantime.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because I was thinking the SSI is, well, you know, how can that even be possible? So anyway, okay, thanks for that clarification.
Yep. Okay, so the next one, pulling new segments. Okay, so this is actually, let me make sure I'm in the right environment here. Can you actually hear me?
Are you talking now? We cannot hear you. No, we cannot hear you. I think we lost him or lost his voice. Can you guys hear me?
It seems we can.
Okay, I was just wondering. Who lost who?
Yeah, Bill was kind of going off and on a little while ago, but it seemed like
Right.
he was okay. But now, yeah.
I think he got stage fright.
Can you hear me at all?
Yeah,
Yes,
now
we
we
can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, my mic just stopped there for a minute. Man, what was I even talking about? Okay. Oh, this is the modify. So somebody came in, went into a stored procedure, and used the modify. So let me pick something dangerous. Okay, and essentially, I have no idea how it happened, but they did that and then hit execute. Okay, so that.
Hey Bill, you're still breaking up. I don't know if it's just me.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we were hearing most of your words, not all of them.
I'm sorry, guys. VDI is VDI. So anyway, what I was going to suggest is when you do your modify, always make.
Yeah, we cannot hear you, Bill.
Made him mad.
Okay, sorry, I just hung up and tried again. So, all right. So when you do your modify, I wouldn't want to suggest to you that you have a second query running. You go and grab the piece that you want and copy it into that other window and then do whatever it is that you're trying to do. as a way to avoid accidentally wiping out stuff in production. And an even better way to do that would be to actually just go back into your source code and get the one that you want.
The other
Anybody
option,
have any questions or? Yeah, go ahead.
another option is if you're on the server and whatever reason don't want to go to your source, if you do script procedure as new to new query window, it'll come in with a create statement, and if you were to accidentally run it, it would fail because the procedure already exists. Right?
Yeah, I was going to suggest the same thing. I don't want
Yes.
to take
So
any
don't
credit,
use
Jeff.
modified, but you can script it.
Yeah. So if you can right click on
Okay.
the procedure and instead of modify, you can pick create the script to a new window. That would give you like a create query instead of an alter. And even if you accidentally hit modify, even if you accidentally hit execute, it wouldn't execute because your stored procedure or table already exists in the database.
Okay, that sounds like a great solution. So ideally you're pulling the script off your hard drive. Otherwise, I would say that tip is great. So let's try and start doing that so that we don't run into more accidents like that.
And the
All
other
right,
thing
well,
is be aware of what environment you're pointing to. Because if I'm working on something and then get pulled into a production thing, and then I forget, and now I got two windows open, and I open a new script, it might be pointing to production when I mentally was in test.
Yes.
So look at the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, you were showing them there.
Right there. You should try and keep this in mind every time you're about to hit execute. Know what you're doing here. I am very paranoid about it, so I usually only have one SQL Server open at a time. But I have still almost done stuff like that in production. So it's anything that you can do to keep from making that mistake. Let's go ahead and do it. And certainly open to any other suggestions. Yeah, go ahead.
Bill, can I show you something real quick? Can I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I do that is something that I think Ken told me was to create the groups, local group, server groups, and you can actually, for example, you can create multiple groups. And one of the ways you can, for example, like if I create, this is my prod, and if I open up any window here, I color code it with the red. So I know that it is a production server. So if I go into my int, I color code it with a little more of a lighter version of it. So I have multiple colors that are going. So that's one way to, easy way to figure that out. So creating the server groups actually helps me to kind of open it up, and keep track of things a little more easier. And another good thing is if I want to, for example, like if I want to execute a stored procedure in multiple servers at the same time, I can open up a query window here, and if I run it here, it will run for both of these. So that's another way to manage this. So I thought this came very handy for me, and some of the people I showed it to, they thought that's good too. So I thought it's a good segue to keep that back and making sure that you're running in the right places.
James, that's a great tip, and I would love to get some documentation on that so that we can add it to the day in the life doc, so that we can get it out to people. So talk about that.
Back to you, Ben.
Next week, back to it.
Okay.
Is that too
If you have any questions, just shoot me or one of the other dev leads an email. Yeah, go ahead.
Nothing. I was just going to say about the last minute of talking, we heard 2 syllables.
What's it?
Yeah, you're cutting out again, but we got the point that we're going to
Yeah,
address it and talk about it next week, right?
or not.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.